what happened in Gaza, which is utter slaughter and destruction.
Yeah.
So,
but they had a right to defend themselves.
Of course.
To retaliate. Do you think that when Hamas did what they did on October 7th, that they could predict what was going to happen?
So I can't read the minds of Hamas, and I'm opposed to Hamas.
I know you are.
Yeah, and I think
I don't want to characterize you as in any way endorsing what Hamas did on October 7th.
Yeah.
In today's episode, Cenk Uygur thoroughly dismantles Dr. Phil during a tense discussion about the Israel-Hamas conflict on Dr. Phil's podcast. While Dr. Phil opts for a more conventional pro-Israel angle, Cenk Uygur counters with solid facts, contextual insights, and a strong moral standpoint. Cenk Uygur isn't merely debating, he's revealing the prevalent double standards, questioning the vilification of Palestinians, and advocating for a future grounded in justice and fairness for all. So, let's delve into the episode and see how Cenk Uygur effectively counters Dr. Phil on his own podcast.
Because I know you don't.
Yeah, so look, nobody ever talks about the whole context of the situation. So the reality is that 5.5 million Palestinians have been occupied by Israel for 57 long years. And so no one would tolerate being occupied at all, let alone for 57 years. And the analogy I often use is Texas. So if somebody came and occupied Texas, do you think Texas might fight back? Do you think the citizens might fight back? And especially if you took away any opportunity to do it in a legitimate way, do you think maybe an insurgency would rise that others would call terrorism, right? So now that doesn't justify the terrorism, but it just explains to you how we got here. So 57 years, so then Hamas does something terrible in return, okay? And then Israel goes, oh, you want to see terrible? We'll show you terrible, and levels the whole place. So, but what Israel doesn't understand is that they are Goliath. For all of Jewish history, they have been David, and they have been abused, and they have been traumatized, and I don't know people that have suffered more, right? But they're misunderstanding the current situation. They're no longer David. They're Goliath, plus they've got even bigger Goliath behind them. And they're beating up on these folks when they got to let them go.
Okay, but you just said a really important word. You just said but.
Mm-hmm.
You just said for all of this time, they have been David. But that means forget everything I just said. I'm going to now tell you what I really mean.
No, it doesn't.
Now they're Goliath.
No, it just means the situation has changed.
It has changed. I'm saying you can't forget all of that time. And I don't want to get into a but. The situation is complex, and the Palestinians have been offered peace accords and all different kinds of opportunities to change this occupation circumstance time and time and time again. We can go back and forth about that. My point is that there is no moral equivalent to what happened on October 7th.
I actually totally disagree. I think what Israel has done since is far, far worse, and it's empirical. So they've killed 62,000 now. Hamas killed 1,200. My heart breaks for that 1,200. There was kids in there. There was terrible things that were done in there. Now Israel has done every one of those things, but times 60. So don't tell me that Israel is more moral. I would argue they are more immoral. And especially when you're Goliath, you have a responsibility to tread a little bit more carefully. And Israel has done the exact opposite. And remember, they're the ones who started it by occupying them in the first place. There's not a single Texan that would ever tolerate what Israel has done to the Palestinians.
Well,
in a recent episode of the Dr. Phil podcast, the conversation centered around Israel's right to defend itself, following the dreadful Hamas attack on October 7th. While no one excuses these events, Cenk Uygur brilliantly emphasized that the roots of this conflict stretch far beyond 2023, or even 2007, reaching back over 50 years of occupation, blockades, and a humanitarian crisis that has rendered millions of Palestinians stateless and powerless. Cenk deftly reversed the narrative with a compelling analogy. Consider if Texas had been occupied for 57 years. Would we truly expect Texans to remain passive across generations? Although the acts of Hamas are indefensible, Israel's response has, according to various independent sources like the UN and Amnesty International, resulted in tens of thousands of civilian casualties, the collapse of infrastructure, and allegations of collective punishment. The most striking moment came when Cenk declared that Israel has transitioned from being David to becoming Goliath, a profound insight often overlooked. While it's undeniable that Jews have faced immense suffering throughout history, in the present-day conflict, equipped with the world's most advanced military and backed consistently by the U.S., Israel is the dominant force. With such power comes immense responsibility. Insisting that Palestinians simply endure ongoing occupation and subsequently faulting them for their resistance does not pave the way to peace, but rather perpetuates a cycle of trauma.
We could go over the number of times that Israel has been attacked, and when you say that they have done the same or worse, I don't know of an aggressor that has gone to the lengths that Israel has gone to, dropping leaflets, warning people, get out of this area, get out of this area, get out of this area, because we're coming after the aggressors. To me, they have gone to extreme lengths to try and protect civilian life. But if you have people that come across and assassinate women, children, and infants in their cribs, and then run back and hide in populous areas, schools, hospitals, and tunnels, and say, well, I'm now in a neighborhood, so you can't come after me, that's violating the rules of war. That's violating every possible measure of warfare that you can possibly do. You can't do that and expect, okay, so I get away with it. That's not going to happen.
Okay, so you turned me back into the warrior, Cenk. Okay, but let me try to handle it a different way. Can I get you to see it from the other perspective? Okay, so I hear what you're saying about the Israeli perspective. Well, these guys hit me. What do you want me to do? And I have a literal answer to that. I was asked, on October 8th or whenever I went on the first show afterwards, I said, yeah, you should use special forces like we did to get bin Laden. Is it riskier? Of course it is. But as Goliath, you have a responsibility, but you're still going after them. So there are real ways you could do military, you could do economic, you could do diplomatic. Israel has infinite power over the Palestinians. They control their lives completely and utterly. They could kill them at any moment, and they do. And the things that you described, they don't do that anymore at all. They're using an AI program called Where's Daddy? They have no idea if it's the right guy, but they wait till he gets home so that they kill his family with him. It's disgusting and deeply immoral. I think they're a terrorist state, and I think they do terrorism far worse than anything I've seen from the Palestinians.
Dr. Phil did what many supporters of Israel's military efforts often do, highlighting actions like dropping leaflets before bombings to argue that Israel is going above and beyond to avoid harming civilians. But Cenk Uygur wasn't buying it, and frankly, neither should we. Dropping a leaflet before bombing a residential area doesn't excuse responsibility, particularly when you consider the significant power imbalance. Gaza is one of the most densely populated regions in the world. Where are the civilians supposed to find refuge? Warnings are meaningless without safe havens, running water, or escape routes. Both Human Rights Watch and Amnesty have stated that merely alerting people doesn't transform an illegal strike into a legal one. Then Cenk Uygur revealed startling information about Israel's use of an AI program called Where's Daddy? According to numerous investigations, this tool is used to track suspects and time airstrikes to hit when the target is at home with their family. This isn't just collateral damage, it's the deliberate use of civilian presence as a tactic. If any other government undertook such actions, we'd label it what it truly is: state terrorism.
Now, having said all that, okay, so I'm a bad guy. If you're from Israel's perspective, you go, I don't like that. He's saying mean things about us, and we got every right to occupy these people and keep them as our slaves for 57 long, brutal years, and I'll do it for 500 more years because I'm superior to them. That's how I view Israel. And so I'm not a friend. I'm not like in the sense of what they're doing today. My God, they do a peace deal. I love Israel. Let's go together. And I want it to be beautiful, safe haven for Jews. They deserve it, etc. But can I get you to see the Palestinian perspective? How long do you want me to be occupied? How long do you want me to live under the thumb of a different people? How long would you accept that? What would you do that was different? And they've tried everything. They've gone to the UN, just like Israel did, rebuffed. They've tried diplomacy, rebuffed. They try everything, rebuffed, because Israel has infinite power because it controls America.
I can look at it from Palestinians' point of view, and I hate the loss of life in Palestine. I absolutely hate the loss of life in Palestine. I think when Hamas made the attack they did on October 7th, they put a sequence of events into play that they knew was going to happen. They don't value life, they value death. And I think they put all of those people in harm's way. They knew what they were doing when they did it. They're responsible for what's happening in Gaza Strip when they did what they did. They knew what was going to happen when they did it. So it's happening. And now this peace accord, will it hold? Netanyahu is, I suppose, skeptical of it. when you're dealing with people in power whose prime directive is you be dead. It's hard to negotiate with people who are oriented to wipe you off the face of the earth. And from the river to the sea, you can spin that any way you want, but that is what it is.
It's so hard not to get frustrated. I'm trying to make peace here, but Dr. Phil, look, last things on this. Number one, Netanyahu has said from the river to the sea. So don't tell me that you don't like from the river to the sea when your prime minister says it. Number two, he's actually doing river to the sea, and they're going to take Gaza, and they're going to try to take the West Bank. Number three, they've now killed 60 times the number of civilians. So how could killing 60 times the number of civilians be more morally correct than killing one time? It just doesn't make any sense. But America's only looking at it from the Israeli perspective. Oh my God, what would you do if you were attacked? Okay, but I'm asking you, what would you do if another race, country, religion, government was oppressing you for 57 years? They have to go to checkpoints. They get humiliated at every checkpoint. They have no rights at all. The settlers have killed 1,000 people in the West Bank. Nothing to do with the Gaza Strip, nothing to do with Hamas. Hamas is not in charge of the West Bank. They kill, oppress, humiliate, and then they go, I can't believe you're mad about it. Oh my God, I can't give you freedom because you don't like Israel. How were they supposed to like Israel? At what point would they have liked Israel?
Let's get real. The most compelling aspect of Cenk Uygur's debate wasn't merely his enthusiasm, it was the genuine facts and new perspective often absent from mainstream narratives. While Dr. Phil stuck to the typical pro-Israel arguments about Hamas using civilians as shields and the necessity for retaliation, Cenk Uygur brought attention to a more profound concern: 57 years of occupation. This isn't just a small skirmish, it's generational oppression. Cenk Uygur's exasperation was clear when Dr. Phil suggested that Hamas's attack justified everything that ensued. But the reality is that collective punishment constitutes a war crime, regardless of whose side you're on. By mid-2024, over 37,000 Palestinians in Gaza had died, with the majority being civilians, including many children and women. And these casualties came even after warnings and leaflet drops, claiming moral high ground while bombing neighborhoods with precision-guided systems, like Where's Daddy?, which both Amnesty International and 972 magazine have criticized, is indefensible. Cenk Uygur rightly highlights the double standards. When Israeli settlers kill Palestinians in the West Bank, where Hamas doesn't have control, the world remains silent. When Netanyahu uses the same river to the sea rhetoric that he condemns, it's labeled as security. This isn't just hypocrisy, it's a refusal to acknowledge the humanity of the other side. There's no excuse for what happened on October 7th, but that doesn't legitimize the destruction of Gaza or the indifference toward Palestinian suffering.